Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
There's a lot of different community members coming together, realizing that we have this opportunity for housing and helping people out that we really need to come together as a group for.
We are seeing slightly higher than normal delays and cancellations. A lot of that has to do with obviously the delays that they're having in Pearson.
The show is 24 minutes long, but we've loaded in more fireworks than we ever have in that time frame. And people are really going to notice the difference.
Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with ballooning housing costs and solutions to bring those costs back down to earth. Anyone renting or owning can attest to how rising prices are pushing affordable housing beyond the reach of many. But there are two concepts being considered in Windsor today which could make housing more attainable. The CBC's Jason Vio joins us live in studio with more on this now. Jason, what are some of our options when it comes to bringing down the cost of living?
Well, that was really the focus of a workshop today in Windsor, looking at unconventional ways to address the unaffordable housing crisis. Windsor Law Center for Cities put on that virtual event today, and it focuses on two concepts that would tackle housing affordability. Let's start with the land trust model. This is something already in the works in Chatham. A land trust living arrangement would essentially provide people with low to medium incomes the ability to get a mortgage for a home that would be 25% less than market value. The nonprofit Opportunity Villages Community Land Trust is heading up the project, and with this model, the resident would own the property itself through what's known as a life lease, while the nonprofit land trust would own the land to ensure homes remain affordable.
I think that it starts off with just a few people, but I think the concept of this could mean that millions of people across Canada could have more of an opportunity. Because if you think of having a fair market value, if we can hit the 25% below market value, how many more people could afford something if it was 25% less?
Now, the land trust community will be constructed at 10 Taylor Avenue in Chatham with 30 units to start. Those will be single family homes as well as duplexes and triplexes. There will also be some accessible homes. Construction is expected to start next year and could take upwards of a year and a half to complete the homes.
So, Jason, that's the first concept discussed. What's the second idea?
Well, that's known as co-op rental living and already exists across Ontario. One of the speakers at the workshop says if there were more, it could bring more affordable living options for people. The way it works is the residents living in the cooperative building would be considered members. They vote on things such as the cost of rent and putting board members in place. So you may be wondering, well, why wouldn't they just all vote to keep rent at rock bottom prices? Well, with this model, nobody is profiting. So the money, the rent money is actually being reinvested into the building, and if revenue can't keep up with the cost of maintenance, well, there will be some problems. Plus, some say co-op rental housing is only one piece of the puzzle to help with the overall affordability problem.
It's never going to be a silver bullet in terms of co-ops being the solution. I think it has a lot to do with how we with land tenure. Even from a tax system, you can make an argument that there's huge incentive towards ownership housing as opposed to rental. And until there's more of a leveling of the playing field on that front, you probably won't have as much interest in rental housing.
Now, the rising cost of housing isn't anything new, but to paint a picture as to why experts say these types of solutions are important, let's look at the cost of a home in Windsor. In August 2015, the average price of a home in Windsor, Essex was $216,000. Fast forward to March of this year, that same statistic was $723,000. Now, that's according to data from the Windsor Essex County Association of Realtors. And over that 7-year period, Katerina, that's an increase of 233%.
Thanks for this, Jason. CBC's Jason Vio live in studio for us tonight. A popular annual tradition is coming back with a bang. After the pandemic pushed it to go virtual, the Ford Fireworks will return this month as a live event over the Detroit River. And the turnout is expected to be bigger than ever. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa has more on how to snag the best firework watching spot.
If you're planning to go to the Ford Fireworks on June 27th, here's exactly what you need to do. Stake out a spot early, set up, and get comfortable. Now that many pandemic restrictions have lifted, the Ford fireworks are back on the Detroit River. In the past 2 years, they did them from unknown locations so that they wouldn't draw large crowds. Instead, people streamed them online.
We're back on the Detroit River and so excited to bring everybody back, to be able to see it, enjoy it, in what is truly one of the largest shows in the United States. The show is 24 minutes long, but we've loaded in more fireworks than we ever have in that time frame.
The buildup for the long-anticipated event already has the city preparing for a large turnout.
There's no doubt if you live in Windsor and you've seen the fireworks display that happens once a year on the riverfront is one of the best in the world. And so not having it for 2 years, I think a lot of people, felt a loss in some way because it's one of those sort of essential starts of summer is the fireworks event. And so having that back, I think there'll be a great excitement.
To help people get to the event, Transit Windsor partnered with Zayres to offer free rides across the city. That's from 6 p.m. to midnight. It's also running a shuttle from Devonshire Mall to City Hall, so people have easy access to the firework display, which starts at 10. It's costing the grocery chain between $15,000 to $25,000. There will be a bus leaving the mall every 10 to 15 minutes. In previous years, Transit Windsor says it has shuttled between 10,000 to 12,000 people.
We are all hands on deck that night, including myself. Everybody's going to be out on scene providing support. We got every available driver that's going to be working that night, every available piece of equipment. It's going to be a very busy night for us.
The one rule for passengers to remember is to wear a mask while on the bus. The city also said that Windsor police will be out. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
And speaking of transit, the city's bus service is still not back to its regular schedule. It's been running on an enhanced Saturday schedule since November. But today, Transit Windsor says it's looking to get it back up to full speed by the fall.
We're still running on an enhanced Saturday schedule, as you mentioned, and the primary reason for that is staffing at this point. We're almost at the point where we can run back to full service. That will resume in September. In terms of resuming that service, it's really just a matter of making sure we have enough drivers, enough bodies that we can do it reliably, consistently.
Meanwhile, the tunnel bus, which crosses the border into Detroit, will continue to be suspended. It hasn't been running since the pandemic began. And if you're flying out of Windsor's airport, you might be facing delays or cancellations. Officials say they're seeing a higher than normal number of these kinds of cases as the travel industry ramps back up.
A lot of that has to do with obviously the delays that they're having in Pearson, and throughout the day it does have an effect as these stack up upon one another. And I think there's some frustration certainly as we move forward to be able to travel, because obviously the demand is there, and it's something that I think we've all been preaching for a while, that demand has been there, but it's been difficult to travel, and now people want to do those things again. All I can say is we're doing everything we can to try and maximize that efficiency here at YQG. But there are certainly issues that are being experienced.
He adds delays and cancellations aren't happening every day, just more often than before. Galvin suggests if you're traveling, check your flights often before your departure to keep tabs on times. And it's not just those flying out of Windsor seeing issues. We checked in with those flying in earlier today from Pearson, some of whom dealt with delays of their own.
I'm tired but happy.
You're tired?
Oh, I'm exhausted. Too old for this.
I came in from Newfoundland this morning and we started off with a delay right at the beginning. We were supposed to leave at 5, we did leave 6:30, 6:45. And then when I got in Toronto, I had another delay because they canceled a flight coming here at 10 o'clock and I had to wait until 12 to come on.
They're trying to do better.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of walking to get to where we need to be because they're just shuffling rows throughout to go through the customs.
Windsor Airport CEO says these are growing pains across the board with travel on the up, but he's hopeful that the issues will be ironed out soon. Plus, as flights ramp up locally, they're working to increase efficiency on the ground as well. Canadians waiting for their Nexus applications to be renewed or processed may have to wait even longer. The Canada Border Services Agency confirmed to CBC News its backlog for applicant interviews has now ballooned to more than 330,000. 8,000 across the country. And to make matters worse, currently Canadians can only get interviews in the U.S. Farah Morelli has more.
Long lines and delays, the reality of air travel through Toronto Pearson for most these days. But if you're trying to apply for or renew a Nexus card, good luck.
I do think that there's frustration for a lot of people that have waited 2 years.
Keith Lockman has been trying to renew his card since 2020. He says he received a conditional approval but hasn't been able to book the required in-person interview.
You don't have any ability to contact anybody live to find out what's going on, and that's part of the frustration.
We're coming up on close to 10 months now. So, and nothing's happened.
And he's not alone. Mitchell Saul says he never got a reminder to renew his card. His application is still pending approval.
I've called 3 times, spoken to somebody each time, and they say that it's going to be delayed.
The CBSA confirmed to CBC News it has a backlog of 333,500 Nexus applications waiting for an interview. Canadian enrollment centres where interviews happen have been closed since the pandemic started. You can travel to an American centre, but even then, there are few slots.
It stems from a much deeper, more complicated, challenging issue.
This cross-border lawyer believes the closures have to do with issues related to a 2019 agreement between both countries that allows U.S. pre-clearance officers who are working in Canada to be armed.
There are some complexities and challenges in that issue that rightfully so deal with some of our issues here in Canada from a sovereignty perspective, whether or not a U.S. officer, so an officer from another country, would have the ability to carry a weapon here and then use the weapon, and then what would happen.
In a statement, the CBSA didn't respond directly to that, saying Nexus is a joint program managed by both the CBSA and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. It added, both countries are in discussions about the timing of the reopening of Canadian enrollment centres. So, for applicants like Lockman, the waiting game continues.
When you hear 300,000 is the backlog, you wonder how long it's going to take.
Farah Morelli, CBC News, Toronto.
COVID-19 vaccine mandates for plane and train travel in Canada are coming to an end, at least for now. The change also applies to people leaving on international trips. And vaccine requirements are also being suspended for federal public servants and federally regulated transport workers. David Cochran has the details.
At Canada's largest airport, opinions are mixed on lifting vaccine mandates.
I feel a little bit safer knowing that people around me are vaccinated.
As long as people are still required to wear masks, then, we're in no different scenario than we are anywhere else in public space. So I'm okay with it.
The virus is still very permanent. People are still getting sick and people are still dying.
The opinion is mixed, but the government is clear.
On June 20th, our government will suspend the requirement to be vaccinated in order to board a plane or train in Canada.
It doesn't just apply to travelers, but also to unvaccinated government employees who have been on unpaid leave since last year.
Employees who are on administrative leave without pay as a result of the vaccination policy will be contacted by their managers to resume regular duties with pay.
It's a shift they say they can make because cases are low, vaccination rates high, but also because the evolution of COVID meant a 2-dose mandate made little sense.
With Omicron, things changed. Vaccine efficacy waned. The longer you were from your vaccine, the less protection you had.
And so a shift in policy while the weather stays warm and transmission remains low. But a warning, it could change again by the fall.
If the situation takes a turn for the worse, we are prepared to bring back the policies necessary to protect Canadians.
It's important to note these mandates are suspended, not canceled, which means if cases rise, unvaccinated travelers could be banned again from planes and trains, and unvaccinated civil servants could be placed back on unpaid leave. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
It is down to the wire for the Windsor Spitfires. The team will compete tomorrow in the Ontario Hockey League Championship playoffs. The match takes place in Hamilton, and the winner gets to go to the Memorial Cup. Del Molnar caught up with the Spits as they boarded the bus this morning for Hamilton.
Here comes Zito, breakaway, scores! Pasquale Zito, they have just ushered in a Game 7.
Well, they're all young kids, so today will be a day to try and squeeze the energy down a bit because I think they're super excited. So we got to have a nice day, relax here, try and relax. We're going to get out of here early at noon, go up there, have a nice dinner, and have a little morning skate on Wednesday. So right now it's about calming down, keep controlling your energy and your emotions, and keeping it all for Wednesday night.
Looks like you guys have a lot of playoff beards.
Yeah.
You're not going to shave until this is all over.
We don't shave until it's all done.
No shave, no trim.
No. Actually, I trim, but I cheat a bit. But I score the goals too. We're relentless. We can get anything done. So we're not so much focused on them over there. We're focused on what we got in our room here. So yeah, I'm confident and I'm pretty sure we'll get it done.
Yeah, obviously Game 7, do or die. It's very exciting, obviously. It's what every kid kind of dreams about growing up.
Draw in, Redwick scores! Michael Redwick, near the end of the second, gives the Spitfires a 3-2 lead.
You know, this is what we play for. This is, so exciting, and it's an amazing opportunity for us to, win an OHL championship. So I think, I'm really excited, and I think, us as a team are really excited, really confident.
For National Indigenous History Month, we've been sharing teachings with you from a local elder. Teresa Sims is the City of Windsor's Indigenous storyteller. She's also a community leader and knowledge keeper. Today, she tells us what it means to be a two-spirit person.
So today, I want to talk about the term two-spirit. And that came about during a youth conference in the 90s when First Nations children and youth wanted a different term because the LGBTQ didn't really fulfill what they believed they were. It was talk about emotional, the physical, the mental, but there was no spirituality in that description. And we are very spiritual people. We are holistic in our approach. So they coined the phrase two-spirit. And my mom always told me that I was two-spirited. She said I would connect to another person's spirit. I would see the spirit rather than the person. So I would connect either as a friend, or they may help me as a mentor, or they may be a partner to me. So that was my connection spiritually. And I learned that a lot of it is spiritual, is a very special role. It was a gift to our community to be two-spirited. That meant that you had that ability to see more than one side, more than just being female, more than just being male. You could see both sides. So that way you could flow from the male to the female and help in many areas of ceremonies, also in songs, and also with any events or comforting. When there's a pain, there's sorrow in the community, you're able to comfort both the male and the female. And you're able to be that role model for the children, whether they're male or female. So they're a very special gift to us. And there's ceremonies especially for them because they're part of our heart. And that completes our circle in our communities. Without the two-spirit, our circle is broken. So now it's time to mend our circle and embrace them and bring them back into the role and responsibility of that spiritual counselor, healer, and that gift to our community.
Live look outside there. Mix of sun and clouds throughout the day. Beautiful sun right now, and a heat warning in effect because temperatures, they are expected to soar tomorrow. Colette will be here after the break with more. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy is here now for a look at our forecast. And Colette, it is getting hot out there.
Yeah, that heat is building. It's been knocking on our doorstep. High pressure has been kind of holding it at bay, so it's been fair and comfortable, but we're seeing that changeover. You can see that heat has not gone anywhere, and though our temperature may be in the 20s, you can feel that humidity has been going up. So let's jump from those current temperatures and get to the humidex values. 34 for us in the Windsor area, and creeping up. You do a little bit better there depending on the direction of those winds, but heat warning in place now. This is for really Wednesday, Thursday, because the temperatures are going to come up into the 30s. Humidex values getting towards the 40s or even into the 40s. That's one thing, but also with these kinds of conditions, it can become kind of stagnant. So we have that risk of seeing, it's possible anyway, into Wednesday, these higher levels of pollution. And not a day, I'd like to mention, of mowing the lawn or using any gas-powered, I know you don't want to in the heat anyway, but any gas-powered kind of equipment, because that just adds to the pollution. So just know that ground level ozone higher tomorrow. We do know that we have, like I said, that high pressure still protecting us. Now, we will see some development in the province, but it looks like it's going to stay along the warm front to the east of us for tomorrow. So I'm still keeping our conditions dry with only a slight chance of getting into thunderstorm activity. Thursday night, even all that action into Michigan seems to pull a lot of the energy northward and eastward. So even into Thursday, I put a chance of some scattered thunderstorms. It looks like the stronger stuff stays north and east with all of that energy. Overnight tonight, then, looking at those temperatures, tonight you don't get a lot of relief when the low goes to 20, and then even tomorrow night you'll find it even milder for us. So a look at where the temperature's headed for the next couple of days, but just keep in mind where we're going with that humidex value. I seem to have lost the control room, so sorry, I'm not sure on my timing here. But here we are into Friday and Saturday. We will see things starting to get back to where maybe we want them to be, or at least where some people are a little more comfortable.
Thanks so much for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
And when we come back, butterflies raising awareness about brain injuries. Stay with us. An alleyway in Walkerville called Butterfly Lane is paying tribute to people with brain injuries. Take a look.
I wanted to bring awareness to the prevalence of brain injury in the city and county. And butterflies have historically been used associated with the brain injury as a metaphor of, a movement and changes throughout life. So a person with a brain injury changes from their brain injury to the person they are now, and it's a big transformation for them to come to acceptance and to grow with it. And so the butterfly is a perfect example of that, all the changes through its life cycle. So I think I probably saw a picture of a butterfly somewhere on a fence and thought, geez, we could do a whole alleyway that way and have a lot of people involved and bring awareness to the brain injury. So we have a mix of professional and student art here. And the only thing they had to do was make sure that they had some butterfly in the mural and to come up with their own design, which they did. And as you can see from all the different designs, that they're all unique. But the common thread is the butterfly. And being first and being the first alley also brings a little bit of notoriety to our organization. Anything that follows, people won't remember as much as the first one. So that was very important. And just that the city recognizes the importance of fixing up the alleyway and having something here that is dedicated to the citizens of Windsor and Essex County.
Before we go, we're going to leave you with a look at some fun being had during last night's Spits game. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.